told like don't kind of
Yeah,
you're a ghost musician.
Yeah.
Keep it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I expected nothing but, because it was, that's the way it was being sold. And who am I to say, that's not the way to go. So Gene and I got together in a funky little rehearsal place, Cole, right around the corner from where I was mixing television. And we would run over songs. Gene's a crazy person. He records everything. He's got tons of stuff on tape, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's got versions and versions and versions, and he's got his little book with the little writing.
Yeah.
He's got a book with lyrics, and a song is this big. He writes like a little chicken. So he's got all these lyrics, thousands and thousands of songs in this one little book. So anyways, he had cassettes of the songs, and we were running over songs, and I was trying to learn the songs and figuring out how this was going to translate into a full-blown recording. And we did that for probably 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think I did anything with Paul demo.
You just went in and did the tracks.
Yeah, right? maybe a couple songs at Tone King. It's in Hollywood, anyways.
Well, you guys did it at 101, right? The record?
Yeah, the record was at 101. Yeah, and so then it worked out. We would cut tracks from 9 till 3, and they would do overdubs, and it was a fairly smooth recording.
Was Tommy playing guitar with you when you were cutting?
Yeah,
That's
Tommy
what I
was playing. Yeah.
Tommy and Paul.
Yeah.
Or Paul, one or the other. Yeah.
And Gene played bass sometimes, and Bruce played bass sometimes.
Yeah.
And he does a good bass. By the way, Bruce is a great bass player. I played on a couple Grand Bonnet records and produced them. I had Bruce play bass on quite a few of the tracks. He's a brilliant bass player. Yeah, he's brilliant. So if you need a bass player, call him up. Probably look him up on Facebook.
I know he doesn't. He actually doesn't like hearing it because he likes to be referred to as a guitar player. But he is a really good bass player.
Yeah.
Oh, you forget now. One thing we skipped over. We forgot about when they went. Was it during the beginning of the reunion tour when you worked with Peter? You kind of helped to get Peter into shape.
Yes.
So now that was because of Tommy brought you in. Tommy, in the beginning, I remember Gene and Paul had Tommy go in the studio with Peter and Ace to kind of start rehearsing with them initially. No, Tommy went in with them by himself. Yeah, Tommy went in with them to kind of start teaching them the song. Well, to help them refresh their memory, I should say. Because they didn't, honestly, just didn't remember a lot of their own parts and didn't remember the arrangements and stuff. So Tommy would go in there and work with them. And then, I wasn't around, but so what happened with your involvement?
Well, Peter and I would get together in another, small, funky rehearsal room. And we had headphones and CDs. And we had a split, so we would go over the songs, And it was odd that I had to remind him, like the beginning of Love Gun, or it was I can't remember the song, but Peter goes, "Is that the part?" And I'm looking at Peter thinking, "Dude, you made the part. Why am I telling you the part?" But sometimes you space on stuff. So we would go over the songs and just play them. And then I think Tommy did come in later and work just with Peter. You see, because when you're playing along to a CD, it's a lot easier to cheat because you hear the full band and you don't have to really remember your parts as well. But if you're playing just with a guitar player, so when Tommy got together with him, you have to know your parts a lot better because it's just you and he, and you're not hearing the whole band fill in the blanks. So I think Tommy got together with him afterwards and just got up to speed with everyone. Very pleasant guy. We had a good time, doing the work. Yeah, it was a good time.
But see, it's interesting. That's why I always thought Kevin would be a good guest because there's all these little things that he's connected to Kiss. I mean, going back to, like I said, us being kids and me being like literally 14 or 15 years old when I first saw him play. And it's just interesting that that somehow we stayed connected and then connected to the same band so much, I mean, not just Gene or Paul, but like you and Tommy outside of it and other side bands and all this other stuff.
Two drummers from the same high school, from the same city, playing in the same band in one form or another. That's crazy. That's Eric. That is crazy.
It is kind of crazy. Yeah. And so after that, did you only work with Peter for? I never knew the rest of the history because I wasn't around the band much in that time period. Obviously, after they started the reunion, then up until about maybe 2000, then I kind of started, going to some shows, or I would talk to Paul on the phone once in a while. But I was busy playing in other bands, so I was kind of out of the loop of what was going on and the inner workings behind this stuff. I kind of heard these things about, Bruce playing on the record and Tommy, then I knew you played on the record and stuff like that, but I never knew what was all going on. I mean, I knew that at another time they had Sandy Gennaro coaching Peter, giving him drum lessons and coaching him. Yet Sandy Gennaro plays with Pat Travers now. He used to play with Cyndi Lauper and different people, but I know he got hired to help coach Peter, I think when they did the farewell tour or something.
Yeah, the next I saw was the tour at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
It's like a circus tour. Also, Tommy was in a Kiss cover band, and I used to run sound for him.
There you go.
So
I didn't know that either. Spiro, yeah, it was Spiro.
Spiro, right.
But Spiro wasn't the first bass player. They're different
No.
guy originally. That guy, Chris.
Yeah, and Spiro, like I said, we discussed this before. It's hard to remember this shit. It's so long ago. Spiro filled in with Tommy for a while. Spiro also did the convention tour. Yeah.
Right, with his other band. Spiro's band was the tribute band on the thing. His band, the Canadian version, whatever they were called, Alive or something, I don't remember. But Spiro was on that because I remember he was always into shenanigans and stuff. And his Canadian version tribute band was the one. Tommy wasn't playing on that. He was
right.
He was like the tour manager, right?
Correct. Yeah, he did everything. Yeah.
He kind of put it together and organized. Yeah, Tommy. To me, I call him the Cinderella Kid. They did that movie Rockstar, based loosely on Ripper Owens, kind of the Judas Priest tribute thing. But to me, Tommy's the real Cinderella story, because when you think about Tommy, started off as a kid. I saw a picture of Tommy dressed like in Ace costume when he was about 14 or 13 as a little kid. So he always loved Kiss. Ace was just one of his heroes as a guitar player. But it's funny that he got his own record deal. They did, a bunch of records on Geffen Records. Gene produced 2 of the records.
Black and Blue, right?
Yeah, Black and Blue. Then they opened for Kiss. He ended up writing songs with Gene and Paul, playing on demos. His connection to Kiss and all things Kiss really goes back so far, but it's so many little things all along the way. Then eventually Gene said he came to one day, said, after Black and Blue and the whole grunge thing happened, he just said, I don't want to be one of these guys just hanging out like the Rainbow, trying to play Halloween Rockstar dress up in a weekend. So, I want to have like some kind of productive life. So Gene said, okay, well, you can work with, work for me, and I'll have you but you got to be willing to do anything and everything, no matter what. So, Tommy's going to help do the whole the History book. That was done with Tommy at Gene's house with some woman that was like savvy with computer stuff. But Tommy was really behind all that and all those Kissology things. A lot of the video stuff that they did. I mean, Tommy learned how to do all those things just kind of on the job by Gene and by learning from other people. Then he eventually was the tour manager, and but the thing is, Tommy was always a talented guitar player, a guy that always was a musician and a songwriter. And it just, when Ace decided, just so we're clear, when Ace decided he didn't want to be in Kiss anymore, Ace is the one that just said, "Oh, I don't want to do this." So I remember him complaining to me when I played with Ace in 2001. Everything was really cool, and then we tried to book a European tour 3 times, and then Ace would just keep saying that, I don't want to go, I don't want to do it. And finally, the band had no choice. They said, look, this guy keeps saying yes, keeps saying no, and eventually, that's when, Ace just said he didn't want to do it anymore, and they just said, okay, well, we're going to have to move on and without him because he doesn't want to do it. And I'll never forget the last thing that Ace did, which was kind of crazy. We went to do the Olympics closing ceremony in Salt Lake City, for those of you remember, in 2001. Now, that's for like 2 billion people around the world see that. And Ace wouldn't show up for rehearsals. We get there like on Friday, no Ace. And you have rehearsals like that thing has to be like clockwork, because even though you're lip syncing, you still have to do it like to the second because it goes around the world. So they have you rehearse Friday night, Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and Sunday morning, and then it actually happens on Sunday afternoon. So you have to run it down like 4 times. They make sure, because it's such a big production. You know, one band goes from another once it starts, and Ace didn't show up. Finally,
where was he?
He was in New York. He just didn't want to come. So Tommy Thayer, here's the true story. Tommy was in Maui with his family for a family reunion. All of it, the whole family, cousins, everyone. They called Tommy up and said, "Tommy, you got to get on a plane and come to Salt Lake because Ace, he hasn't gotten on a plane. We don't even know if he's going to show up. And you know, if he doesn't show up, then we're gonna, we need you to." You're going to have him put on the costume and do it. So Tommy had to leave his family reunion from Hawaii and fly to Salt Lake. He got there, and then Ace finally showed up on Sunday morning, and just in time. And so Ace did finally show up and did it. And then after that, we were supposed to do a private party in Jamaica for these rich Russians. They hired us for the guys was having a 30th birthday party.
It's the rich Russian party.
Yeah. He rented a whole resort in Jamaica. With him and his 50 of his Russian friends, he spent, check this out, for his 30th birthday party, he spent $7 million on his birthday party.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to be him.
Well, he hired Kiss, Scorpions, Sugar Ray, I don't get it why, and Nazareth. Those are the 4 bands that played. Sugar Ray, you know that guy, Mark McGrath? Mark McGrath, that guy. No, he was kind
non-metal.
Like a non-metal rap kind of thing, whatever. I don't know. Anyways, the party lasted 7 days. Each day had a different theme. Like I remember one day they had a costume room. One day was James Bond theme, so everybody had to wear tuxedos and dress like James Bond, and the women all had dresses on. Every day was a different thing, and then 4 of the nights we had concerts, and we played in a field for like 150 people. Anyways,
I'm still waiting for my invitation.
Yeah, you'll get it. It's in the middle. Anyways, Ace wouldn't. Gene and Paul kept saying, "Ace, come to New York. Come to LA. We're gonna rehearse for a week. We were gonna record." We did that. Remember that cover version of the Ramones, Rock and Roll Radio? Ace was supposed to come to LA to record that for the tribute album, and then we were gonna go do the Jamaica gig. Well, as it turned out, just Gene and Paul and I did the recording. Paul played all the guitars, and we just did it as a 3-piece. And Ace didn't show up. He wouldn't come to rehearsal, and he wouldn't do the gig. So that's the first time Tommy ended up doing the gig. I remember that Ace didn't want to come down because he thought that Gene and Paul and Doc were going to try to have him killed.
Eric, I was just going to.
That's a true story. He said, "Oh, they just want to get me out of the country so they can kill me."
Eric. I got to finish that though. It's funny because I was just telling my friend that Ace actually said that on the phone. He told me that they were going to kill him. He said they were going to pay him, $250,000 to go, fair share and everything, so he wasn't going to go. Kiss was going to kill him. But here's the punchline. Remember a couple of months later, someone in that group in Russia was arrested in Beverly Hills for murdering somebody, remember?
Yeah.
So Ace calls me up and goes, "I told you they were going to kill me."
Well, no, it's true. Some of those guys, some of those rich, well, they call them Russian bankers, but some of those guys had gone missing. They had armed guards all on the premises with machine guns on the whole premises the whole time while we were there. And it was kind of this surreal, wild thing. The day we showed up, they weren't even there. They were off in Cuba. They had taken a speedboat to Cuba to go to some day trip. So we never met them until the next day. And we were there for a few days, but the whole time we were there, they wouldn't even talk to us. We'd be sitting outside, like at the cafe, and they would just talk in Russian to each other and smoke cigars, and they never would talk to anybody or say anything to any of us. We were just kind of like, like every day was like I said, it was a theme. One day they had, they brought these Brazilian, Brazilian fighters, kind of like that UFC stuff. They brought these guys in from Brazil to fight. Then they had a hot oil wrestling bikini contest. It was just like Spring Break you'd see on MTV. It was something like that.
Still waiting for the invitation.
But that was